In 2016, who did you vote for? Because at that time, Tulsi really wasn't in the whole political. Well, she was in the political game, but she wasn't technically in this whole presidential talk yet. So who in 2016? Who did you cast your vote for?
I actually voted for the Libertarian Party candidate, Gary Johnson, for the same reason that I'm here to support Tulsi Gabbard, because of his anti-war stance. He was the most anti-war candidate, and in this race, she's the most anti-war candidate.
What is it about Tulsi that attracts you to your campaign? What are some policies you can highlight for us that you like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, like if this is for millennials, younger people, she's standing for the future. She's young. She's 38 years old. She stands up at the time. She went to Standing Rock, right? Negative 40 degrees. Ex-military were there. I mean, it's like she is at the time. She stands up and she shows up. You know, she stood up for democracy for Bernie. You know, she wound up being his VP, but that's not why she stood up for him. You know, she stood up for him because she said the people voted for Bernie Sanders. That's who I'm putting my superdelegate vote for. You know, so like she just stands up at the right time. She got courage. She's inspiring. Hey, y'all wanted a woman in 2016, and I'm going to say this right now. This is what Hillary, this is what Elizabeth, this is what that other woman, this is who they want to be when they grow up, is somebody who gets respected for what they do.
As president, I would work in this bipartisan way to build relationships with both Republicans and Democrats in Congress, as I have done throughout my tenure in Congress, so that we can find these areas of common interest, that we can work together to actually bring about solutions and pass legislation that serve the interests of all the American people, the people who we've been charged to serve.
But she's still not widely popular known. Do you think that she has a chance to beat a candidate like Bernie Sanders or Biden, who are right now the two strong favorites to win the Democratic nominee?
Joe Biden is a very conventional candidate. Bernie Sanders is some of the change that I think Tulsi Gabbard can tap into. In April of 2015, no one was talking about Trump being a candidate. In May of 2019, nobody's talking about Tulsi being the front runner, but she has unique qualities that I think will differentiate her from the rest of the pack, and specifically she can connect with the masses of Americans who are anti-war and are tired of these wars overseas.
Between now and the election, do you think Tulsi could pick up enough steam, gather enough, I guess, get her voice out more, to gather enough votes to beat a Bernie or to beat a Joe Biden in this Democratic nominee?
I think she certainly has the capability of doing so, and I think that she certainly has the sort of the ability to rally people behind her, as I think you saw today a little bit, especially when she takes those strong, bold positions on foreign policy and that sort of thing. I think it is going to be an uphill battle, because just like Bernie himself faced last time, there are elements of the Democratic establishment that don't want to see certain candidates rise, who take positions, strong positions on foreign policy and that sort of thing. So I think that will be her biggest challenge, is actually being able to get her voice out there and being allowed to ascend as opposed to being held back.
Trump is very, I think, conventional in the way that he talks about using the military, and that is not something I can support morally as an American, because war is mass murder.
Okay, so right now, for you, is the most important issue for you is the foreign policy issue. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ian, is that what attracted you to Tulsi Gabbard, or was it another policy, or was it her anti-regime kind of view on the world?
Her anti-war views, as expressed by a non-interventionist foreign policy, and when she says she wants to bring all the troops home on the first day of her presidency, that is exactly the correct policy for America, because there is a $22 trillion debt and several wars that the United States is illegally operating in that have nothing to do with American interests.
Ever since the U.S. has put out the Iran deal, the relationship between the two countries has not been the best. Recently, the United States has sent, I believe it was a carrier group into the Persian Gulf ever since the increased Iran aggression has occurred. I know you're very anti-intervention. What would you do right now, as if you were president, to improve the relationship between the United States and Iran? And what do you see maybe happening between now and the election between us and Iran? Do you see maybe a possible war at all?
I think it's really dangerous, the steps that this administration is taking to push us closer and closer to a war against Iran. President Trump says that's not what he wants, but in fact, that is exactly what he wants. And when you look at who is surrounding him and pushing him into that war, people like John Bolton and Nikki Haley and others, we see that that is clearly their intent. As president, I would re-enter the Iran nuclear deal that Trump withdrew from. That was really the kicking off point that has escalated these tensions, not only between the United States and Iran, but with all of the other countries that were signatory to the deal. and the countries that the United States is now threatening with sanctions if they do any business with Iran at all. All of this has made both the United States, the American people, and the world less safe as Iran is reacting and saying, hey, they're going to start putting things in motion to begin their nuclear weapons program once again, the thing that the Iran nuclear deal sought to prevent from happening. So we've got to de-escalate these tensions and recognize that a war against Iran that this administration is pushing for would be devastating. Be devastating for the Iranian people, the people in the region. It would be incredibly costly on our troops, on our military families, on the American people with the money that would be spent on this war, create more instability in the region, create a worse refugee crisis across Europe, strengthen terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, making our country less safe, undermining our national security, what to speak of, once again, the nuclear threat that this would pose.